What's up, everyone? Thralls of Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick.
I'm Jammin John.
And we have an album review for you. So another one that was kind of released on the 6th of August was the newest album from Crypt Crawler, Future Usurper. Now, this comes out on the 6th of August on Bitter Loss Records, but technically it was released in June as an independent release. This is their official big release on this label. This band formed in 2018 in Perth, Australia. Australia is definitely a theme this weekend, I think.
Yeah, no shit.
Second full length, they have one EP, and honestly, this was kind of an exercise in not judging a book by its cover. You're looking at the album cover right now, probably thinking like, all right, might be like kind of Swedish death metal-y, HM2, D beats, grisly shit about zombies and shit. I'm pretty sure there's still some zombie stuff on here. But what we got was something completely different. But we're not complaining at all. Right away, this album opens up with a cool bass intro. And I'm talking like death, like, Spirit Crusher, stuff like that. And then crawling harmonies. A lot of death. There is a lot of death, and these guys studied stuff that ranges all the way from leprosy, spiritual healing, even into human territory. This opening track, The Mouth of Death, wow, all right, I should have saw that coming. It's all over the place in terms of classic late 80s, early 90s death metal. So damn Floridian, I forgot they were from Australia.
Yeah, right?
And that is kind of like an interesting thing on here where this 90s, but kind of like technical death metal, or at least early technical death metal. Again, like, the like mid to later death, and then stuff that's very akin to Gorguts, Erosion of Sanity. Very awesome songwriting, loads of dynamics, crawling melodies, harmonies on top of those. The vocals are so damn Chuck. Yes. I mean, the only thing that might be different is occasionally he gets a little bit lower, and sometimes he kind of sounds like David Vincent.
I said that.
But, yeah, that's not a complaint either. You sound like two signature death metal vocalists, so way to go. The proggier guitar work, though, on songs like Delirium, Inherent Complexion, very nuanced. Loads of dynamics, and you're backed up by some really killer drum work. The drum work, somewhere between Sean Reinhart and Bill Andrews.
Yeah.
And, well, we know who they played for.
Sean Reinhart would be proud, to be honest. The things he chooses to use as accent points are weird. Like in the song Delirium, there's a part where he uses the bell of the ride to do little triplets on. And that acts as like a breaking point, too, for the song. The cymbal grab. His choice to use the ride bell for triplets was pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, there's even some cool little, like, rapid fire hits on the hi-hat in The Mouth of Death, too. He's utilizing so much in his kit, and the way he accents the riffs, because these riffs are already powerful as hell. You double in with a harmony, it gets even more powerful. But this proggy stuff is one big part of it in a album that really just encompasses a lot. This album defied any expectation that I had, and it continued to do so throughout it.
And as if, old school death metal and or prog were the only things, they're not the only things.
No.
Another big thing for this record, and it appears throughout, is the thrash influence. Especially the first three tracks, The Mouth of Death, the title track, and Force Fed to the Dead, just all are very high-paced energy and very thrashy. Reminds me of like Testament and Power Trip at times, and Anthrax. Like, it's such a neat inclusion into what this sound is. It's
a totally different kind of energy. Like, it ramps you up, like, because while you could be lost in like some of the technical, more melodic play. And the melodic play, I think, is interesting because I think some of these melodies, I think anyone can get into. But of course, that's one. There's screaming.
They're accessible. It makes the songs a little bit more accessible, and there is melody throughout. These guys are all about melodic hooks.
Yes.
Woo!
But I would never call this melodic death metal.
Nope.
This is old school death metal that knows how to utilize melody and kind of contrast it with just heavy and nasty shit. The thrashy sections especially, it kind of has a little bit of that death thrash sound. So like Pestilence, especially like Consuming Impulse or like Demolition Hammer, stuff like that. It's high energy, explosive, and again, a totally different kind of energy. And the way that they are kind of scattered, those thrash tracks in between these really cool proggy numbers, you get like a really good serving of these, bouncing back and forth, because it really shows how much is in this band's wheelhouse.
Yeah, and the riffs are so well constructed. My goodness. And the transitions are buttery smooth and
inventive.
And you're right, and inventive. Sometimes it doesn't always transition the way you think it would. Like in the song Horrors of Humanity. Not horrors.
Not horrors.
Horrors. Anyway, in that song, it's got a bunch of weird riffs in it. A lot of weird off-time riffs. In fact, the opening of that song, the riff structure reminds me of, even the tone even, reminds me a lot of like early Metallica.
Yeah.
Like if Metallica was a more angry band.
Those days have long passed. But anyway.
Yeah, just a ton of weird groove in here. And even the hooks, they all have like this weird kind of like 7/8 time to them.
And it's cool because, pretty much where they're coming from as soon as you listen to this. Like, the wheelhouse is very early 90s, late 80s, but it's what they do with that, because there's a lot of different sounds they explore in there. Towards the end of the album, they kind of explore more atmospheric stuff. A little bit of the prog still in there, a little bit of the thrash metal, but it gets a little bit groovier and a little bit, like, darker. Because even the proggier stuff, like, it has its darker moments, but mostly it's kind of like, just adventurous songwriting. And you kind of get locked into that mode. But again, Horrors of Humanity and then The Illusion We're Under both have a more sinister tone. In fact, Illusion You're Under has this really cool, like, horror vibe in terms of the intro.
Yeah, that one, and then the middle part that goes into like this 80s sci-fi thing.
That came out of nowhere. That has to be one of the wildest moments. And that was one I was like, all right, I might find something I don't like on this. But how they transition, like, the music sort of dropped out, this big 80s synth, like, very spacey, very, like, Genesis.
Yep.
Kind of comes in, and you're like, okay, I legit have no idea where they're going. But all of a sudden, a lead fades in, and it just works.
Well, and that lead, too, is this really pretty acoustic, clean thing.
Yeah.
And it just sets up this awesome kind of like funky, swingy drum groove. Again, Sean Reinhart would be proud.
It's a wild listen, and that was the thing that really just kind of kept me going, because honestly, I didn't know where these songs were going to go. Like, I already had expectations defied as soon as we put it on. But the fact that the songwriting was so adventurous, and like even in like the thrashier songs, which you would imagine are a little bit more straight ahead, they're still doing some wild stuff, like crazy off-time fills.
Yep.
Really cool syncopated breakdowns. But they're smart enough to know when they have a big riff, you kind of let that hammer out. And that's the fun thing about this kind of style of more technical, thrashy death metal that they do, is they do hone in on big riffs. They work with them. They don't abandon them for something else too quickly. They really work at them, and I love that.
Well, and they let everybody shine on the record, too. Everybody has their own little place, and everybody gets their own moment of spotlight. Like, going back to the drums in the song Choir of Reprieve, most of that song is, they're really big drum fills. Like, it opens up with this cool drum fill, but then when he accents parts in the riff, he uses these giant drum fills. They're almost like Joey Jordison drum fills.
Like, he's wailing on the entire kit.
Yep. And they let everybody play that way.
Dude, the production on here really lends to that too, because this is mixed really well. Like, it has a retro feel. It definitely feels very 90s, but the production is a little bit more polished. Like, this honestly sounds like a remastered version of something that was recorded in 1990.
A remastered release of Death's Leprosy.
I own that. It sounds great.
I own it too.
The main thing overall in this is the songs are engaging. That was the big thing. Like, I was drawn in. I wanted to know where they were going to go. I like the fact that I wasn't really able to predict where they were going to go. And that's kind of refreshing, because, we listen to a lot of death metal.
Sure.
Sometimes it can be a little bit hard to surprise us. But these guys did. And it was right from the rip. And then they kept surprising us as they kept going, and that makes for a really interesting listen. This album is great front to back. Like, the songs are in the right places. It's paced really well.
Yep.
It's just refreshing to hear a band this creative and this talented. Like, the playing on here is remarkable. Every member. The frontman is just the frontman, and he does a great job on here. There's even like spoken word sections.
Yep.
Everyone contributes something absolutely integral to the band, and there's not a weak link. I looked for it. I tried to find it because, like, dude, I feel like I like this too much. I felt guilty for liking this so damn much because this is my first exposure to this band, and I literally picked up this album because I have the independently released version, and wow, that is pretty much where I'm at. Like, this entire listen, I was not only reminded of all the things that I love about death metal, the stuff that got me into it. In fact, I even wrote down, teenage me would have lost his shit completely if he had picked this up. And you know what? 42-year-old me is kind of close, a little bit more refined now. This is great. This is a flat-out awesome album, and this is such a welcome surprise because, you know, expectation versus reality.
It's definitely not what I expected.
Not what I expected either.
Anywhere from the band name to even the album cover. The album cover screams like Death Doom.
Yeah. I would have been cool with that too, but I am elated with what I got. Overall, big surprise, this is a 4.5 for me. And once again, the year-end lists are becoming more and more complicated because this came out of nowhere. This is absolutely awesome. It's like nostalgic, but it still feels fresh and interesting. And again, the songwriting is so adventurous and fun. And whether you gravitate more towards their thrashier side or their more proggy technical side or just like kind of the more sinister dark side, I think regardless across the board, if you like death metal and thrash metal especially, you're going to find a lot you love on this. And it should ring certain bells from the past. And I think that was partially the idea. But this is absolutely killer. 100% get this, whether it is their independent release or their release going on a Bitter Loss. I imagine Bitter Loss would want you to buy that one that's coming out. So you go for that one. But listen to this band. Absolutely awesome release. I am going to continue gushing internally. So, John can speak.
4.5 for me as well. First of all, it shocked me. I did not know that this is what we were getting into, and these songs are so well written and so well constructed, and they each song is unique in its own right, and it's amazing. And it's, you know, again, many things that I like about death metal, anywhere from like that old school tone to the newer thrash tones. Everything shocked me as it went along, like part after part after part. And these guys are, again, all about hooks and riff city. And the riffs aren't typical. The structure of the songs differs each time. And the lead work, although not flashy, is just peppered into little spots. The lead work reminds me a lot of Dimebag or like James Murphy, you know, or even Chuck. And all three of those people are fucking amazing. Although 2 are no longer with us, but it's not important.
Their work is with us.
Their work is with us. Yeah, really, I couldn't find anything wrong with this either. Generally, I try not to gush over newer bands because usually they need some work, but these guys don't.
Well, I mean, I haven't heard their first release, but if it's close to this, wow.
Yeah, this is pretty amazing.
I fought off giving a 5, I'll be honest.
You know, I've learned my lesson with 5s. But man, yeah, the year-end list is getting larger by the day, and this will definitely be on it. These songs whoop ass. The musicianship is incredible. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow is the word I have, so... Yeah, please go buy this record. I'm sure the band would appreciate it. Give Australia some love.
Dude, Australia, you win this weekend.
The people you know in Australia, just fist bump.
Yeah, well, make sure they're not venomous first.
Tegan and Adam, fist bump.
Yeah.
Good job.
They're not venomous.
Killer jam. I want to listen to it again. And I may on the way home.
So, if you like this review, give it a thumbs up. And if you are new to the channel, subscribe because we do stuff like this all the time. We're also on Patreon. If you'd like to help us out there will be a link below in the description. We're going to get to putting more stuff on there.
I promise.
I'm going to keep saying that, you know, right. But we're going to do it. That's the important part.
We're definitely going to do it. We're just going to keep saying it until we do, but we will.
So you'll know when we actually have new stuff on there because we'll finally shut up about it. We also have t-shirts left. We are mostly down to 2X, XL, large, and a couple of smalls. If you would like one of those, or you know someone that would like one of those, hit us up on thrallsofmetal@gmail.com. Put shirts in the message. We will get back to you, get your information, and hopefully get you a shirt. We're going to eventually get some more stuff, and we'll definitely let you know about that when we do. And with that, we thank you very much for watching, and we will catch you later.